महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रतायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामिने गौरतिषे नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। I welcome again all of you. I know it is a lot of austerity for every 30 days sitting 1.5 hours listening to it. After that, you go on study and writing question answers and continuously doing this. It's an austerity because time in immemorial we've been what is the modes of material natures have been like we've been tuned to not to do this. So I know it is like going to the forest, controlling your senses, meditating on this particular time, coming and joining to learn something from the Bhagavad Gita. I know it is how difficult it is, how pain it is. You have to sacrifice so many things, take care of family, your leaves, holidays, everything you have to sacrifice. Thank you very much. Definitely, this all will be reciprocated by Krishna. Uh, so let me start with the today's session. Let me know if I'm audible. Audio is clear, video is clear, presentation is clear.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Everything is fine.
Okay, kindly please go on mute and you can stop me wherever you're not able to understand. This 13, 14, 15 is a huge topic. I'm going to go very slowly. If I'm not able to complete, let's say, chapter 15, I'll try to find some slot in the next week and try to do it. Because when I'm preparing this slide today morning, I realized that there are a lot of concepts. This is about Jnana Yoga. So I thought I'll go slowly 13 and 14. If you're not able to complete, we will see. If you're able to stretch today 9:15, we can complete it. We will complete it. If not, I would I don't want to hurry up on chapter 15, which is very, very critical. So let me see how much I can able to do it. If not, definitely we have next Saturday and Sunday to cover up. So those who are for the first time joined, this is the Touchstone links. Please join into our WhatsApp for the communications, and all our recordings, previous recordings, are available in the YouTube channel. And I'd like to thank Srila Prabhupada, who is so magnanimous, who is very compassionate. This is a true saint. Yeah, bhakti means a person needs to have a compassionate. If you don't have a compassionate, then doesn't it means that you don't have the bhakti, because he wants to give this knowledge, seeing the condition of the fallen conditioned soul. He can't just tolerate it. He sacrificed himself for everything. Then he wrote day and night this literature, wonderful literature. And also there are various other acknowledgements I like to inform. The books which I have been reading it, Surrender Unto Me and Gita Subodhini, these are the two main books which I have been referring. Any examples or anything which I predominantly referred in this book structure, and I have given this presentation. Okay, so what did we see yesterday? There was a wonderful session by Sinehita Mataji talking about Kala Rupa, chapter 11, as well as chapter 12 on the devotional service. This is the very essential part of the Bhagavad Gita. This chapter 12 is the devotional service. Krishna is directly talking about the Bhakti Yoga here. And the first 1 and 7, Bhakti is the best. Krishna talks about a worshipper of the impersonal feature. We've seen the yogi, how they're trying to meditate, how devotees are perfect. And we have heard the story of this Panda, Gita Panda, how Krishna personally delivered what is required. That story Mataji was clearly explaining. So Krishna here clearly says that I protect the devotees and devotees are all perfect. And the next second part of it, the progressive stage of devotion, Krishna gives various list of activities you can do. Please think always me. If you're not able to think, at least do a practice sadhana bhakti. If you're not able to do, at least you do karma yoga, where give the result. That also you're not able to give, at least give them in the charity. Follow 4 varnashrama system. Krishna is giving, at least you do karma. Karma yoga. If you're not able to do, at least do karma kanda. So Krishna says this will help you to progressive stage of bhakti, but taking bhakti is the highest uh, the means to achieve me. Then the third part we see in the qualities that very dear to Krishna. So we have seen that attitude towards other self, like Prahlad Maharaj, even though his father was trying to crucify him, and there was a story of uh, Mrighari Hunter. There was a story of Haridas Thakur, how people, other living entities, they were dealing with it. So we have seen various qualities of the devotees and dealings with the Lord. So Krishna concluded this Bhakti Yoga, Bhakti chapter in 12. That's what the essence we saw. So today we are entering into the as you know, this Bhagavad Gita is divided into six chapters, 3 6 chapter. First is talking about the Karma Yoga, the bottom of the jewel box. The Bhakti Yoga 7 to 12 that we just concluded yesterday, the summary of it. That's the essence of the Bhakti Yoga is sandwiched in the bit in between. The top, now we're going to see the lid part of it, which is called Jnana Yoga, 13 to 18. Very, very, very interesting, very deep. If one understands this 13 to 18 chapters, practically they'll be applying it, then they'll get a lot of realization in progressing in this Krishna conscious life. So this is also very important chapter. That's why I'm going very slow. You might get bored today because a lot of concept philosophy we might be talking about. I'll try to keep it very interactive, and we will try to see some examples so that you are able to understand this. If you're not able to follow, please stop me then and there. So today we are entering into the Jnana Yoga 13 to 18, and today I'll be trying to do 13 and 14, if possible, chapter 15. Okay, so coming to the chapter 13, the chapter is titled Nature, the Enjoyer, and Consciousness. So there are three people. There is a nature, there is a jiva, and the super soul. So this is the chapter, and it has been divided into 4 categories. We can divide this into. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Okay, give me some time. Let me mute. Somebody can mute. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much. So there is a wise question asked by Arjuna. Then he's asking, what is Kshetra? What is Kshetra Jna? What is the knowledge? What is the object of the knowledge? What is the field of activity? Who is the knower of the activity? Who is Prakriti? Who is Jiva? Please tell me. You've been asking some questions. And Krishna explains in this chapter detailedly what is that the item of knowledge which somebody needs to get it. And he explains about the soul and super soul, and finally conclude who is the enjoyer. To start with, these are the 6 questions. Please understand very clearly. This is very, very important. So Arjuna is asking this 6th question. What is this Kshetra? Body is referred to the Kshetra. So Krishna is telling Kshetra means the body, the field of activity. Then who knows this body completely? That is the second question. Third question is asking what is the knowledge? There are so many branches of knowledge. We are not talking about medical, we are not talking about physics, we are not talking about chemistry, we are not talking about astronomy. This knowledge refers to the spiritual knowledge. What is that knowledge one should gain? And then Arjuna asks, what is the object of the knowledge? By knowing this knowledge, who is the object of the knowledge behind it? See, these are the 4 questions asked. Then also he is also trying to ask, what is this nature, Prakriti, and who is this real enjoyer? These are the 6 questions Arjuna is asking. So I'll be going one by one in detail to explain you to understand this concept. Then we will see. If you have any questions, we can come back to this concepts. So first thing is that you can see there is a person who is plowing the land, and there is a king, and there are trees, there are some vultures, and there is swans, there is a fruit, there is a tree. There are a lot of text I put it. So let me explain one by one. Call me out if you're not able to understand. So Arjuna is first asking, what is Kshetra? Kshetra is nothing but, now you know this Dharma Kshetra, Guru Kshetra, we started with that. Kshetra means a field. In Sanskrit, Kshetra means a field where some activity can happen. So the person who is plowing this land is called Kshetranya, who is the soul. So Arjuna is asking, what is the body? Who is the knower of the body? So immediately Krishna explains, Kshetra means this body. This is the karma bhumi, and human form of life is the karma, where we can perform karma. Neither in the animalistic life, neither in any other place of the world you can do this karma. Only this earth, India, not India, especially this entire earth planet is called karma bhumi. Then the human form of life, not any other form of life, is called the karma activity. See, for example, if you want to give donation, you can do it here. Let's say if you are going to the heavenly planet, everybody is opulent, everybody is having money, whom you will give a donation? What kind of activity you do? And what is the possibility of even thinking about Krishna there? No, there's always Ramba, Urvashi, Mekana, everybody is dancing and things like that. You don't even time. There is a beautiful garden. There is no babysitting, no baby taking care of nappies and all that. The boys, as soon as they grow, they'll just grow to teenage, sweet 15. And there is no disease. There is no doctor. There is no hospital. You don't need to work. All the time you can just enjoy in your life. There is no disease, literally physically. There's a birth, there's a death. Just before death you get old, and you just come out. It's like I was explaining again, it is like accumulating a lot of money before going to the travel. You go accumulate good karma, then you go to this there and you enjoy and come back. But this is the earth, and our body is the field of activity where you can perform some karma, and we are able to get rid of this birth and death. It is very, very difficult in the other form of living entities. Either it is other form animals or lower higher species of life. It's very difficult to perform this karma. So this way, we should be really happy that we got this opportunity. Now we are trying to learn Bhagavad Gita as well. And this body, using this body, I can perform a very good karma, so that Krishna conscious activity, so that I will be able to get rid of this birth and death. So like Indra and Chandra, they'll be all watching. Oh, this guy is just born yesterday, because their lifetime is more. They're like we say Chandrayana, Uttarayana, Dakshinayana. 6 months, 6 months, the sun moves. The 6 month is their half a day. For us, it is 6 months. For if you go to the Swargaloka and other places, it is considered as just a half a day. When you go to Brahma, Brahma is like 4 Satyugas. Satya, Treta, Dwapar, Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga is 4 lakh plus years. So imagine there's so many years Brahma lives. So in their calculation, they'll be just checking the human being. See, this guy just born yesterday and he chanted 1 or 2 rounds, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. He's done a good karma, he's going back. Whereas I'm not able to go. I'm supposed to live for 10,000 years, or what are how many years of human life. He has to, even though he can see that human beings are going to Krishna Loka, they have to wait for their time. So this is a real opportunity to understand. Arjuna is asking, sometimes we understand what too many philosophy in the Bhagavad Gita, what is Kshetra, Kshetranya. The purpose behind this is the best form of life we got. We are not animal. The second thing is that first thing is getting human form of life, so that we can perform some good karma to change our destiny. Second thing is that you've been in the right association and you're hearing this knowledge. This is the Bhagavad Gita. You are at the right place. Even though you're born in the human, how many people in Bangalore now trying to understand this karma part of it, right? So Kshetra is Krishna explaining. Kshetra is nothing but your body. Through your senses, you can perform good or bad activity. Then Arjuna asks second question: who knows this body? That ourself as a soul, it knows what's happening with our body. Then there is another king called Kshetranya. There are two Kshetranyas. One is the ourself, the soul, and there is a super soul. Like how the person who is plowing the land, he has a particular land, he knows about it, he makes grain, whatever he requires. And king also knows, because he oversees the entire place, right? He also knew what it belongs. Ultimately, this also belongs to the king. So the king is referred here as a super soul or Krishna. Krishna also knows about our body. So the concept is here, Kshetra is nothing but our body. Kshetrajna is the person who knows the body, that soul and super soul. So body, soul, super soul, this is the three topic what Arjuna is asking to Krishna, and Krishna has explained it. What is knowledge? Then Arjuna asked in the previous thing, you can see the body is a Kshetra. Knower of the bodies, there are two people, super soul and soul. The knowledge is, if you know this, all these three, body and the two, soul and super soul, that is the knowledge. That's what Krishna has explained. And what is the object of the knowledge? Ultimately, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the controller of everything. And if you are able to understand that and you do perform bhakti, that is the object of knowledge. And prakriti and enjoyer, that's more questions Arjuna is asking. Before moving to that, so there are few more concepts I want to clarify. This, when you plow in the field or something, you imagine there is a tree, the material existence. We grow something, right? We exist in this body. So that is nothing but the material existence. There are fruits in the tree. So there is a two kind of people. Who is the vulture? Another one is the who lives outside this village or something. The village the vultures, and we have the swans. So if you use your consciousness to perform good activity like a swan, or you want to try to liberate yourself using a particular karma appropriate for you to in the field, if you do that like a swan, then you kind of clean neat water and you're trying to realize the Krishna. Whereas the vulture who eats the filthy thing, you're trying to in this material existence, you're trying to do other than the Krishna conscious activity. You might eat the fruit which entangle, and you might keep on taking birth and death. So that's the analogy of Vishnuda Chakravarti Thakur gives, saying that there's a Kshetra, Kshetranya, the field and body of the field of activity. Then you grow a material existence, a tree. A tree gives various fruits. There is one kind of people who never take up Krishna conscious. Like there is one like a people who are always happy by taking to Krishna consciousness. So this is the sum and bonum of what Arjuna is trying to ask. And this is wonderful. We never should be anytime think that, oh, this so much difficulty in the human form of life, I would have been like happy in the other form of life. No, this is the best, because this is the time we can perform the various good karmas to get ourselves out of this material bondage. Now, what you grow in the field, generally in the field you can grow nice cash giving crops, or you might some thorn, bushy plants which you can grow, or something like a cactus, something like that you can do. So in this body, utilized when spiritual advancements is like utilizing our land for the best and most expensive crops that would yield a maximum profit. So using this body, whatever you want to grow, you do good activity like we were seeing yesterday's. You need to read Bhagavad Gita, worshipping the Tulasi, chanting about it, hearing about Harinam. If you do this kind of activity, the good crops, this is the very most expensive crops. If you grow, then you get the maximum profit. If you use other way around, like cactus, using it for various the breaking the four regulative principles, then you would grow a lot of wheat and cactus. So somebody might ask, so this is Krishna as in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu given a very, very wonderful sloka. Please listen carefully. Bharata bhumite haile manushya janma, yara janma sataka kari kara para upakara. It means that one who has taken his birth as a human being in the land of India, that is Bharata Varsha, should make his life successful and work for the benefit of all other people. See, entire planetary system, there are so many universes are created. Like you take mustard seeds of bag. How many mustard seed can you count it? That many innumerable universes are there. In this, Earth is a small planet where Brahma is having 4 heads. There are other planetary system where Brahma has thousands, million, 1 million head. You can never count it. Brahma has that many heads because it depends on the size of the universe. Brahma has also get many heads. Our Earth is very, very small. That's why our Brahma has only 4 heads. So there are, in this universe, we have the 7 continents. In this 7 continent, the most auspicious, most place is Asia, where this India is the Bharat Varsha. India is the very Punya Bhumi. Karma Bhumi, because not many of them know this concepts of Bhagavad Gita, the Sanatan Dharma. It is not only Hindus. This Bhagavad Gita is for universal. Everybody should know about it. In this Bharatavarsha in India, especially South India, you are in a Bangalore, very good atmosphere. Still, there is some culture. There is still some, people are pious. Still, there some people are even when you conduct Bhagavad Gita, at least they incline to listen, right? So this is the best form of human life. And Krishna says orders, it is your duty for other people to preach. If you are born in Bharatavarsha, see what happens, the advantage of being India. There are many temples you may not know. Just you may not go to the temple. You might go to the office. Like take a circle, and evening while coming, you come on the other road. In between there is a Ganesha temple. Let's say you create a some Ajnana Sukriti you don't know. If you go to foreign, not necessarily you will have a temple. You never go to that. There is not many temples are available. Being in India is such an advantage. Without unknowingly, you might look at a particular tree, banyan tree or other tree. You might go around. There is a lot of auspiciousness and there are a lot of sukriti been developed without knowing you. You may not go to the temple, but just by going around different roads, we have so many temples, so many. Sometimes you will hear Krishna, you call somebody's name. In India, there is a lot of Lord's names are there. My name is Gopina. Somebody calls me Gopi. They will get Ajnana Sukriti. They don't need to even call the Lord. The Muslims might call their friends saying something name. They even say Harama. Then they get benefited, right? Ramzan, they called us. Krishna, Rama will take that. Oh, they are calling my name. Ramzan, they call it as a Rama. They get benefited. This doesn't happen in any other place. So being in India, being in a human form, knowing, coming in contact with Bhagavad Gita is such a wonderful thing. You should be really gifted. So what is that lessons we can learn from this practical application? Arjuna is asking, telling, use this material body for hearing, doing devotional service. So there is a wonderful site called ISKCON Desire Tree. I just want to, some of you know, some of you may not know. I want to just browse and show you. This is a wonderful site where you have many lectures, books for the kids, the lot of activity, drama, script, whatever you want. This is a big magnanimous site that devotees are developing and get there. A lot of audios, videos related to Krishna conscious. You have thousands of lectures available. So you want to understand, there will be there are a lot of courses on Gita. There are a lot of things will be available here. So this is the wonderful site where you can, involve yourself, reading it, hearing it, making yourself understanding more. After this course, you want to read it. You're most welcome to hear those lectures. And it has been given by all the great saintly people in the ISKCON. There are a lot of acharyas, there are a lot of gurus, sannyasis who have been given a beautiful lecture, including Prabhupada. So you can explore this site, right? Instead of spending some time and reading newspaper, of course you read, see the headlines, but just spend more time. If you're reading half an hour newspaper, just cut down to 5 minutes, because there's nothing will be there. Somebody is killed, somebody is that person is stolen, that something happened. This same matter, name will be different, location will be different. Don't worry, tomorrow also you will see the same thing. I can predict what will come in the newspaper tomorrow. So just spend some time in this wonderful tree, Desire Tree, where there are a lot of lectures and you can read a lot of books and you can get practice, see how bhakti can be practiced. This is a wonderful resources. I would like to give it to you. Now, further to understand this, Krishna is explaining furthermore about the Atma. So there are 5 types of koshas available. This is little high philosophy, because Krishna says, that's my opinion. You follow this bhakti yoga, that's my opinion. Then Krishna knows that what if somebody is not accepting me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Krishna says, don't worry, Arjuna, this is my opinion. Still, I would reference from some Vedas. This is the essence of the Vedas. Somebody wants to know what is there in the Vedas. This is what it talks about, the 5 koshas, Annamaya kosha, Pranamaya kosha, Manomaya kosha, Vijnanamaya kosha, Anandamaya kosha. These are the 5 levels of coverings of the body. It is there one who understands. One should come from Annamaya kosha to progressive, to the gross, to the subtle body, which is Anandamaya kosha. Then it is better for the human life. So Krishna is trying to explain again the field of activity in different perspective. Or I can give you another example. Let's say somebody is trying to go to the trying to rent some house. This husband, wife, he goes to the landlord, they're trying to rent the house. They are not the house. The house is like a body. They can never claim proprietorship. The person who is staying in the rented house also knows about the property. The landlord also knows about the property, right? So similarly, from the Vedas perspective, there are various levels of human being who will try to understand the Krishna. Like the basic level is Annamaya Kosha, means just the soul. There are certain kind of people who are worried only about the food. They don't know anything about it. For example, you want to give a crude example, it is like our kid, any kid, right? She, anything object she will eat, she'll put it in the mouth because she thinks that everything is eatable. Anything you look for that, she'll try to eat. She doesn't know anything other than that. She doesn't care about protecting her. She might fall off or something. She never knows. She just needs food. After that, she has to sleep. So like that, the baby is just on the. Similarly, there are lower category of mankind who just worried about food. That they don't know anything else other than that. So another, if a person knows little bit Annamaya Kosha, then he'll come to the Pranamaya Kosha, where he's trying to protect himself. For living is the minimum. Somehow I need to live. Somehow I need to survive in this. So if somebody attacks, what happens? So you try to put a nice house. If some animals comes, what way you put a fence. You want to protect from weather and other natural calamities. You try to build a nice house. So pranamaya kosha is that you want to kind of live somehow. You want to live apart from food. You want to look at your existence, what is required for your existence. Then comes the Manomaya Kosha. It is still at the mental level, but these three are really at a gross level. In the Manomaya Kosha, what happens is you really know that there is something beyond this. There is something called soul, um, or not soul exactly, but there's something beyond this pranamaya, annamaya kosha. They try to do all the good thing, giving in the charity. They come to the mental level of thinking that beyond this bodily needs, there are something else, but they don't know what is soul concept and things like that. When they move to the Vijnanamaya Kosha, they know that I am not this body, I am the soul. For the soul, there is something needs to be done. They don't know that still Krishna is the supreme and the soul is like Paramatma, Jivatma, both are there. That concept they don't know, but at least they come to the realization of this body. I'm not this body. I'm a soul. They get some self-realization in Vijnanamaya Kosha. Then they move into the Anandamaya Kosha. That's where the bliss eternal. I am eternal. I am servant of Krishna. Jivera Surupaye, Krishna Nityadas. I'm eternally servant to the Krishna and I need to perform this devotion service. So Krishna gives another perspective after he talking about Kshetra, Kshetrajnana. He is talking about, see in the Vedas, this also talks about there is various levels of consciousness. It's simply this Krishna consciousness, from this you can understand. It is change in the mind, change in the concept, change in the consciousness. There is nothing you need to change in yourself. What are you doing it? You continue to do. You're eating, please eat. You're working, please eat. Your family, grasta life, do. There's nothing wrong. In the change in the conscious that I am doing it for Krishna, everything what I require, I'll offer to Krishna. Like that, if you change your conscious few activities around Krishna, then we are in the Anandamaya Kosha. Okay, now after talking so much in this, initially explaining this in the first 1 to 7 slokas, Arjuna, Krishna is trying to explain what is Kshetra, body, knower of the body, what is knowledge. Then he, over the entire chapter, is going to talk about what is the composition of the body, what is this body Kshetra is made of, what are the qualities of the body, what is changes happens in the body, how it is originated, the body is originated, who is the identifier of the knower of the body, what is the power of knower of the body, the person who knows this body, what is his powers. So Krishna will try to explain these 6 topics again in detail, to explain, to give you more perspective, people to understand. So to at high level, this body is composed of 24 elements. There is Panchabhuta, Ahankara, we have subtle false ego, mind and intelligence. These 3 subtle elements is there. Then 10 senses are there. Then the 5 sense objects are there. And the 3 modes of material nature put together in the unmanifested form pradhana. So these constitute the 24 elements. That's the body is composed of. There is body composed of a gross body, Panchabhuta. Then after that is a subtle body, mind, intelligence, and ego, and senses. So Krishna defines this body is what is this word composed of. Then he said, what is the qualities of this body? It has icha, desire, divesha, hatred, sukham, dukkam, happiness, distress, chetana means dhriti, sang, sangata. Like that, there are qualities of the nature of this body. That what has happens to this body? The body takes a birth, then grows for some time, then maintenance sustains for some time, then it gets a maturity. After that, we get to old age, we decline, then finally the body dies. So Krishna is going more into the Kshetra, what kind of qualities, what kind of composition, how does it change? Then it says origin of body. How does this body is created? Who created this? Then Krishna explains in this shloka, Purusha Prakritistogi Bhunkte Prakriti Jan Gunan. In this, he explains that it is the modes of material nature, the Prakriti, which creates this body. Right? Then he further explains identity of the knower of the body. Then he says Krishna is there everywhere. He has eyes and legs everywhere. He can walk. He has not cannot. He's very far, but he's still closer. There are so many things again trying to explain about the object of the knowledge, the knower of the body, the super soul. Again, Krishna explains about himself, the super soul. I know everything. What's happening? Then the and again, power of the knower of the body. Again, he talks about that I'm inside, outside of all the living and living entities. He moves, but he doesn't move. He's subtle and thus not knowable. Although far, very not far. So he's again explaining his opulences throughout this chapter. To Arjuna's sixth question, this how Krishna explains that. So in this, what is that the third concept which we need to understand? First thing we understood what is the body. Knower of the body is two people. One is ourself and the Krishna, also super soul. The third one is we said body, Jiva, Paramatma knows, a person who knows about is the knowledge. In the knowledge, how do I acquire this knowledge? This chapter talks about more of, let me hide this. Okay, it talks about how do we gain this knowledge? What is this knowledge? Now I understand, but how do I gain this knowledge? Krishna gives various qualities through which you can knowledge. The first important quality says, Ananya Yogena, constant unalloyed devotion to me. You do bhakti yoga towards me, then that is the first most primary important quality. Without this, you will not know the knowledge. Again, I'll repeat this. I've been repeating again. The knowledge which I'm giving you, it is not outside. Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam, Vedas knowledge, it is not outside. Even though it is not outside the knowledge, you might read it, you might know Sanskrit, but it will not be realized. It will stay as the jnana level. It cannot change to big jnana. By purifying your heart, Krishna sees your heart, you're trying to attempt it, then it will be revealed. The knowledge will be realized only when Krishna reveals in your heart. The knowledge is there. What we're trying to do is all trying to clean up your dirt in your heart so that when Krishna reveals, you will be able to realize this knowledge. So Krishna's importance says that it is not that important you become very scholar, learn Sanskrit. No, you will not learn this knowledge by that. It is by doing bhakti yoga, Krishna will reveal from your heart. The knowledge will be realized. Otherwise, you will not understand. Thousands of times they can read this Bhagavad Gita, still they will not understand. That's why it is Raja Vidya, Raja Gugyan. Krishna says it is secret. What is there in secret? There are so many editions of Bhagavad Gita has been written. It is open and everybody is doing day and day, everybody quotes, but still how many people will realize this and how many people will follow it? If they understand, then they will follow it, right? Many of them, they don't follow. Means that it is open secret, but you can understand. So that if you want to understand the secret of Bhagavad Gita, then you need to do this constant unalloyed devotion by chanting this Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Then Krishna reveals from your heart. The next one is Acharya Upasanam, means accepting the bona fide spiritual master comes in the four parampara system. Bona fide Sampradaya, Vaishnava, Vaishnava Sampradaya is there, Madhva Sri Sampradaya, Rudra Sampradaya, Kumar Sampradaya, any one bona fide Sampradaya, you can accept some Acharya. You need to surrender to some Acharya. That is the essential quality. The most important quality is you do bhakti by surrendering to a bona fide spiritual master. If these two things is there, only Krishna will reveal. Because he sends so many acharyas for us. It's not that why somebody might ask why I need a guru. I have Bhagavad Gita, I can read myself. I can understand. Of course, I've been explaining you Why there is a need of a spiritual master? You've been chanting. No, Krishna sees that. No, he sends so many people. He's representative. So if you surrender to him, is as good as surrendering to him. Krishna sees your surrender. Krishna sees your sincerity. Krishna sees, really doing bhakti or not. When we do surrender to such a Vaishnava or a pure devotee, then Krishna is happy. Then he will reveal immediately this knowledge through him. So the other 20 important qualities, apart from the most important essential quality, accepting a guru and doing a devotion service, there are 20 other elements of talking. He's talking about humility, pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance, simplicity, serving the guru, being cleanliness, steadiness, self-control, blah, 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 blah. He's not just going on all the good qualities which one should have to understand this. Then only I will reveal this Bhagavad Gita. That's how you gain the knowledge. It is not just by attending some seminar. You will be able to get some glimpse at a high level, but you want to realize this knowledge, we have to follow this process to acquire this knowledge. That's what Krishna is again explaining. So there is one thing I would like to explain out of this. So many are there, we don't have time. Let me expand this on non-violence. When we say non-violence, people think that hitting somebody, killing somebody, or killing an animal because we are committing a violence against it. That is at the gross level. What if we go at the subtle level? Any activity which we do, which makes the other person not unhappy, I would say put him in the difficult situation, that is called violence. Any activity which makes other person not comfortable or making discomfort or making him what is it, distress, then it is called non-violence. For example, now this entire world, they are materialistic people running around every day. They're not spending human form of life, they're not spending it purposefully to know the Lord. But somehow or other, we came to know about this Krishna conscious. By practicing the Krishna conscious, we are happy. We know our purpose of life. We are trying to divert control our karma, our destiny. The same thing, if we don't tell others, they are in distress. They don't know they are in distress. They've been running around. They don't know how do they come out of this material birth and death. But we know that if I don't give this knowledge to others, that is committing a violence, because I know the solution. Other person is suffering, still I don't give my solution to him, or I don't preach Krishna consciousness. And why we are doing this courses? Because we know that people are suffering. We want to tell them this is the solution. I've been using it. It is working. If I don't do that, I'm committing a non-violence. At a subtle level. The gross level, it might be fighting, killing, bloodshedding, whatever it is. So it is very deep to understand. Even one take non-violence, it's very, very deep. Krishna is talking about at various level, and there's so much things to talk about it. It takes ages. So this is the other part of it, knowledge. How do we acquire the knowledge of the body? Krishna says that it is internal. You have to look the knowledge internal. The gaining of, what is the realization happens inside. It's not happens outside. In order to clean your inside, you have to approach bona fide guru. That is the essence he's talking about. Then he moves on to the next topics about the soul and the super soul. I don't know, this picture you would have seen in the previous chapters, second or third chapters, people would have explained it. Just to recapture. So there are two birds sitting on the tree. One is Krishna, another one is our Jivatma or Arjun. To compare to that, or it's any Jivatma, there is a super soul who's sitting. And the other bird is very quiet. It's not doing anything. It's just watching as an observer. The other bird is trying to eat the fruit. That's a Jivatma who is trying to eat trying to do entangle in this material world, eating, this fruit might give a better taste. That is different fruit. So we are also trying to do this activity. Okay, by doing this activity, I'll be happy. Oh, I am doing that activity, I'll be happy. Like that you're trying to achieve, but Krishna is just patiently waiting when you look at me and ask for your help. When you surrender to this other bird, the super soul, then Krishna can give you this knowledge. So even our body, even though we are one of the Kshetranya, we are nowhere of the body, we know limited. If I ask you somebody, like you ate in the afternoon, right, lunch, can you tell me exactly where is the food is now? It is there in the intestine, or it has come to which part of the body? We don't know. Maybe some doctors might know. Approximately after half an hour, there will be acid will be coming. It will go from big intestine to the small intestine. I don't know. Wherever it has to go, it will go. It, you know, at a high level. But Krishna is a person who's a super soul. He knows what is happening in your body, outside the body, and other animals as well, other living entity bodies as well. Krishna would know. That's called super soul. So we are the secondary proprietor and controller. See, even you want to lift your hand, even you want to breathe, even you want to open your eyes, and there are 30 crore devatas, we say 30 ಕೋಟಿ ದೇವತೆಗಳು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಲ್ಲ, ಇವರು ಯಾರು ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ನಮ್ಮ ಬಾಡಿನ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. Even you want to go for past the motion, you want to pass water, you want to drink something, even you want to blink your eyes, there is some blessings of this, any one of the 33 crore devatas is required. So they are controlling this entire body. We are the secondary controller. Based on Krishna's supreme order, these 33 crore devatas are maintaining our body. Even do one function, we can't, Krishna's without sanction of one of the devatas is saying, I will not do, then paralysis. Something they don't do, then something happens to our leg will not move. We are not the controller of this body. We are the secondary proprietor and controller, trying to do something. We're thinking that I'm moving this hand, it's because of that it's moving. No, there is a devata who has already approved it to move, and Krishna is sanctioned. That's why I'm able to move my hand. And Krishna says, I can't move this hand. As simple as that. The soul is not taken any birth, or it will expire somewhere. This is eternal. It might change the body, but it never, expires. So these are some of the things. You can read it yourself. I just want to move on to the other topics. So Krishna talks about the Kshetra, the body, the knower of the body. There are two bodies, one super soul and the soul who knows the body. And there is a knowledge. This, this knowledge, to acquire this realized knowledge, Krishna given the steps. What is the knowledge? Then he talks about the object of the knowledge, which is the super soul. How do we understand this object of the knowledge? He gives. And finally, we want to understand what is Prakriti and who is the supreme enjoyer. If you see in the first diagram, we see in the body, knower of the body, knowledge, object of the knowledge. I just explained the soul and super soul. Then he asks, what is this nature and who is really enjoyer this field? Who is enjoying it really? Is it the soul or super soul? What is happening? So who is the supreme enjoyer? That's what Arjuna is trying to ask, and Krishna is trying to answer this question. Please listen. Look at this diagram, right? Soul, super soul. The soul is there, which desires something. Which desires something. Then the nature provides the body to enjoy. Somebody, let's say somebody desires, want to sleep for a long time. Now, the nature gives a polar bear body, where in the polar region, the bear sleeps for 6 months. Then that should be sanctioned by the super soul. Super soul needs to sanction the desire and tell the nature to give the kind of a body. Then the nature provides a body. The soul then enters into the body. So this is the triangle relationship between super soul, soul, and the nature. The soul desires, it can't do anything about it, it can't get the body. Nature only can provide this body made of this Panchabhuta, the 24 elements we talked about, right? Mind, intelligence, ego, the senses, things like that, the modes of material nature, that gives the body. Can it do automatically? No, it has to sanction from the supreme super soul. And the super soul, based on our karma and guna, it says, okay, this guy is entitled to get this human form of life. This guy is entitled to get this form of devata body, or entitled to get into this animal body. Whatever it decides, it decides. So, the conclusion of this chapter is that let us live same life, just change our bus. Krishna is wonderful. So we don't need to change anything, we need to just change our consciousness towards Krishna. Given another example, there was a Ramanujacharya, wonderful, great Vaishnava in the Sri Sampradaya. There was a Dhanur Das. So he was so attracted in the picture. You can see there was a Lord Ranganatha procession is going and everybody is chanting and going. But these guys keep on walking in reverse direction. He was holding an umbrella. He was looking at one beautiful girl, and he just walking backwards. And Ramanuja saw this one. See, there's so much a procession is going on. People are going, and in reference of worshipping Ranganatha. This guy is going like this without noticing the devotees, and that too he's walking back, looking at the particular lady. And then Ramanuja called him, "What are you doing?" Then he said, "My wife is so beautiful, and her eyes are so beautiful. I can't just take out of my eyes, and I just love it." There is nothing beautiful eyes than this anywhere in the world. That's why I'm so attracted. So he's doing the same life. Now, then Ramanan said, let me show you the beautiful eyes than your wife, then will you stop this? Then he said, yes. The next day evening, he asked to come to Srirangam. Then he showed the Ranganatha beautiful form of the eyes, such a lotus flower eyes of Lord Ranganatha. Then he said, oh, this is much better than my wife's eyes. I never knew. So he changed his consciousness. The beauty, same beauty of eyes, instead of putting on wife, he started putting on Ranganath. The both of them started serving the Lord Ranganath. So he's attracted to the same eyes. So similarly, we might have a lot of attraction. We might do the same life, just instead of today I've given the desire. You want to hear something, just go and hear Krishna Katha. You want to paint something, take that, learn something, reading. We also read, everyone reads, we are also work, we also eat, then we offer it to Krishna. So it's just changing our life. We live the same life, but changing our boss to Krishna. Then this, everything will be successful. So with this coming to the end of this 13th chapter, again, he explains about the nature of the jiva, the qualities of the super soul, qualities of the nature. There is one key thing which I want to highlight is this: Prakriti is the doer. The jiva does not do anything. It is Prakriti which is doing our activity. Jiva and Prakriti mutually binds themselves. Lord controlling the jiva as well as Prakriti put into motion. All the material activities are performed by body which is created by Prakriti. Prakriti is the doer, and super soul is just witnessing, like a bird sitting. And please know, we are under CCTV camera 24/7. Somebody might think, oh, the guy is stolen, government did not catch him. So there is no, in the Kali Yuga, there is no, we will say there is no punishment, because he's nobody knows about it. There are so many people do so much bad activity, but none of them, most of them may not be caught. But you can't be escaped from this karma activity of Krishna, because Krishna is there in the Paramatma and everyone is at, and he never sleeps. 24/7 you are under CCTV. Krishna keeps watching, and he takes the record of what is the good and bad deeds we have done. Based on that, he approves our activity, whatever required, right? He is the permitter. So please always be aware that Krishna is there as a super soul, both soul and super soul there in the heart region, and Krishna is watching all our activity. Okay, with this, we are concluding the chapter 13. So first we saw the intelligence question. Arjuna is asking about the body, soul, super soul, the Kshetra, Kshetrajnana, object of the knowledge and things like that. Then second, we saw how to acquire the knowledge, the essential qualities, accepting a bona fide spiritual master, most important quality, doing unalloyed devotion service. Then I explained about the non-violence concept and other qualities. Krishna says, the knowledge is within, you have to realize it. For realizing it, you have to do bhakti. There is no other way. You can understand just by reading it high level, you will not understand. Then the third one, Krishna further explains about the soul and super soul. Attributes of the soul are pervading. Then the fourth one, the real enjoyer is Krishna, the qualities of super soul. Then we saw the material nature, how to reach perfection. Then there is a jnana chakshu. So you will how to get this knowledge doing devotional service, and the destination you reach Krishna Loka. So that's how the chapter is designed in the 13th chapter. Okay, then I am moving on to the chapter 14. Any questions anybody want to ask? Or anything which is not clear in this chapter 13? Before I move on to the chapter 14. Any questions? Okay. I take this as, meanwhile, you can chat, put it in the chat if you're not able to understand any concept. So today, definitely we'll be doing only chapter 13 and 14. 15, I'll try to do some other time. So this modes of material nature is very, very interesting. And the topic is, it is a free will or it is a destiny. Are we controlled? Because here you can see these two people are standing there in the strings like a puppet. There are three ladies, and above that Krishna is there. They are trying to pull the string, and this we are acting it. Sometimes we know that this is wrong, but somehow we've been pulled, forced to do it. Why it is so, right? So we've been acting under this three modes of material nature. Actually, we don't do any activity. So it is do we have really free will? Krishna gives, does he give a free will, or it is everything is predestined, or everything destined, we are acting as per our karma and modes of material nature? Then why we need to study Bhagavad Gita? Anyhow, I'm going to do what I'm supposed destined to do. Why there is a free will to it? That is the topic we'll be discussing it today. Okay. So first let us understand this three modes of material nature. Then the R stands for rays of prominence. Sometimes this modes of material nature is not constant. Sometimes mode of goodness will be more in our with us. Sometimes mode of passion will be there. So all these three will be, keep competing each other. So then the actions in the modes, when you perform such an activity, what happens if you do perform activity in the mode of goodness, passion, what happens is, and what is the pure life? How do you overcome these modes of material nature? Is what this topic is going to cover it. So the famous question, it's a destiny or free will, right? If I ask you, last time also I was telling that, does Krishna knows what we do? If there is a free will, then Krishna wouldn't know what I'm going to do next. If I ask you whether I'll continue this session next minute, it's my free will. I can close it or I can continue it. Whether Krishna will know whether I'll continue or close it, Krishna would know. To be speaking more detail, there is very, very limited free will, or there is literally no free will. To be honest, if you want to say, if you go more deeper into the Shastras, if you look at everything is predestined based on the karma, it works. It is, you can say there is very less free will. So now, for example, there are two roads are there. One person can using the free will take up to Krishna consciousness, or you can take it to the material addictions. So there was my son, right? He was sometime yesterday for yesterday. I was trying to prepare this lecture. It was very late night, and that I put a headphone and I slept it. The YouTube was playing. Light was lit, and I just slept somehow because I was exhausted. But my son, who used his free will to look at some play game or some video, then started watching it. See, the free will is that you choose to Maya or you choose Krishna. As soon as you given to choose, even given to Maya, like for example, the son who is addicted to watching something, till midnight he was watching. So once you give your free will, then you don't have control. The modes of material nature will control you. What time you'll go to sleep, up to what time you'll be addicted. A drunkard is there. Do you think any drunkard says, no, I'll be steady, I'll drink only this much, and then after that I will not drink? No. Any kid would say, no, I will stop after this one game. They'll say next game, like that, right? So somebody is addicted into that. You don't have a control. Once you give your free will to Maya, then Maya controls it. What time you have to go to bed and what happens to you, that is not decided. So the free will is something like, the previous one I was trying to tell, the soul desires, the only desire what I can do. See, the free will is something I can act whatever way I want it. Today I was telling, right? And I can shut down this laptop and go, or I can continue. That's my free will, right? I can't do it. I can desire that. I want to shut down this, but if the Krishna doesn't sanction, that it will not happen. So what I'm telling is, the simply desire is what you can do in the free will. The free will is there. You can simply desire, this is something I want to do. Today I want to attend Bhagavad Gita class. How many of you gone to Tirupati? As soon as you desire, do you think anybody one of here you gone to Tirupati? No, the time has to come. Balaji has to call you. How many of you agree with you? You might plan so much. Have you able to just go like that and have darshan? No, unless Balaji gives permission, you will not be able to have his darshan. That's called free will, where you can just have a desire. That's all you can have. Whether the desire needs to be approved or not, Krishna will sanction that. Either it is Maya, or if you even want to kill somebody, is killing to someone, killing somebody, Krishna has to permit that activity. You can just desire, that's all, right? The free will is to limited to extend that. It just you can desire, today I want to attend the class, so Krishna will permit, then you will attend it today. That's why there are 11 people or 12 people there. Why less? There are many people did not use for free will, they did not desire, or even that they desired it, they may not be qualified to do this, they may not have a sufficient sukruti to attend it. As simple as that. You can't just whatever I desire, oh, free will is there, I can do it. No, you can't do it. That needs to be sanctioned by Krishna. That's why Krishna knows your past, present, and future. Even though you desire it, I know his Atma is desiring, whether he's qualified or not, he will sanction it. Unless he sanction it, he knows that the future, what is present, what is the past. So that's Krishna has the complete control over it. So the destiny, given another perspective to the free will, how many of you have control over your mind and intelligence? The mind has to think, right? Many of the time we know that it is wrong. How many of us done this activity even though it is wrong, again and again and again? We know that going for a walking, doing exercise is better. How many of us we use our free will to do that? You might desire, but you may not do it. So first thing is our mind and intelligence, we don't have a control, right? Um, so where is the question of a free will here? Because it's all predestined, or we kind of more of destinies depends on our guna, previous vasanas, activity, whatever done, and what mode we are under. That determines. But by desiring it, simply by desiring Krishna, I want to do it. That's why the our we need, why we said okay, surrender to the guru. Somebody might be asking why this. I told accept the spiritual master. It is the desire plus the costless mercy of the Krishna or Vaishnava makes our activity successful. There's nothing else. Krishna is free to do anything he wants. You might desire, he give, you may not give, but he has a costless mercy. Somehow the Vaishnavas like Srila Prabhupada was so costless mercy. He gave this knowledge when Prabhupada is not given, so he did not show us the costless mercy, we wouldn't be sitting it. So similarly, Krishna gives his mercy. So what we need to understand is that in order to do particular activity should happen, I should have it using my free will, I should desire. Then later Krishna has to show his costless mercy. That's why he's saying, do bhakti for me. You surrender to the Guru. Why? They using this costless mercy only, the activity can happen. Otherwise, nothing can happen. So any questions on the free will or destiny? Almost the free will is the desire. You can't act independently whatever you want. Only Krishna has the free will, complete free will, where whatever he wants, he can do it. But we can worst case the desire it. The desire will be either sanction. It is a material activity. The three modes of material nature which perform our activity will be forced to do that particular activity, even though we don't want to do it. Our mind intelligence says it's wrong, still we try to do it. Right? The other way around, we can say, Krishna, I am dependent on you. I want to surrender to you. I do bhakti. You need to give me your mercy. That's why we always say, Krishna, give your mercy. Why we are doing? Krishna has to, if free will, he sees the sincerity. By chanting the process, surrendering to it, he sees the sincerity, then he sanctions, okay, you come to Krishna consciousness. Then the activist is sanctioned. According to the Devatas, the Muvat Mukkodi Devatas, they try to help us in this activity. So any questions on these three modes before I proceed to others? To give another example, okay? This will be very simple to understand. So there was my neighbor, there was a person who's always used to ride the bike. He had a very, 1-2-year-old son. He loves riding bike. Then he says, Daddy, Daddy, I want to ride the bike. The father keeps him on the bike. Then he will try to do like this hand and he'll try to put, the gear and all. Do you think the baby can touch the gear? But he thinks that he is doing it, right? He drives the bike and he goes around and he says, oh, I'm driving it. Actually, the father is driving. The baby is thinking that he is driving. The baby thinks that father is driving. No, he says, I am driving it. It will try to, do all those things. He'll put the leg on the this gear and trying to think that it is doing it. Similarly, we think that I am doing this activity. Ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. We think that we are doer, but we are not the doer. These three modes of material nature literally pulls with the rope based on our previous karma and gunas. But the sincere thing is that we need to use our free will. Only thing is to desire to surrender to Krishna and beg for his mercy and the Vaishnavas. Based on the costless mercy, Krishna's costless mercy, and only we can take this Krishna conscious. Now, if a person is in the three modes I was mentioning, right? The people, the three ladies are there. One is in the blue, one is in red, one is in yellow. Yellow is in mode of goodness, red is in the passion, and the dark blue or black, I don't know, that blue, that is in the mode of ignorance. I'll give you an example. How by Krishna conscious, just by desiring whatever modes you are, you can overcome these three modes of material nature. Krishna is telling, by surrendering unto me, Mama Maya Dhrotayam, Devesha Gunamayi, Mama Maya Dhrotaya. You can't overcome this material nature. They are very strong. They are like a rope. You can't cut the rope, but you can surrender to me. I will do that. Let's give the three example. Now you will be clear with the concept and you can ask me any question on this. This is very important. Now there are something called Pretachas. So in Bhagavatam, this explains his father told his 10 sons, go and do meditation, then have a good progeny. So that's why you go and meditate. So they came to a nice forest. There is nice water and clean water, and they started meditating. That time Shiva was coming with his associate. Then he saw, no, this is not the purpose of life. The purpose of life is to do bhakti, devotion service. Of course, you're doing meditating. You want to have good progeny, which is fine. But ultimately, you should understand Krishna. You have to go back to God and trying to preach. They are in the mode of goodness. They are in the natural clean water. They've been meditating. This were on the rishis. They're trying to realize themselves. They are in the mode of goodness. A person in mode of goodness taken to Krishna conscious because of a guru, who is Shiva. See, again, without Krishna's guru's mercy, they are not able to achieve this. Again, I'm repeating. That's why Krishna says that you need a guru. He came and advised, they performed it, they went back to Godhead. So next is another story where Dhruva Maharaj is there, who is in the mode of passion. Passion means somebody like, want to achieve more, and things like that. So Narada Rishi came. He wanted a kingdom greater than his father, like Brahma's greater than the kingdom of his grandfather, which is Brahma. That way you can see Dhruva Loka. Dhruva pole star is there, right? Most of the people you see in the star, there is one star is visible. That's called pole star. So that is Dhruva Loka. He wanted to achieve that. Then Narada Rishi told, I know you're so passionate. It is no, give up this. You should not be doing this. Then he said, no, I wanted it. Then he said, okay, worship Krishna or Vishnu. So here is a person who is in the mode of passion. You want to achieve something. Then he took up to Krishna conscious. What happens later? He realized, sees Krishna. After that, he says, oh, Krishna, I was asking for a piece of glass. I didn't know about it. So please forgive me. So a person and passion who took to Krishna conscious is also purified. We saw the example of a person, a yogi or rishi in the pretachas who are having in mode of goodness got into Krishna consciousness. A person in mode of passion, you got into Krishna consciousness. Now let us see mode of ignorance. Yesterday we seen these two stories. Mataji was explaining there is Haridas Thakur who was chanting. There is a prostitute, a society girl who want to come and approach Haridas Thakur. So she one day came, she was waiting for him. Then she was hearing this chanting. By hearing, she got purified. Third day, she surrendered and took Diksha from him. Then she started chanting. So similarly, the Mirghari enter, we have seen it. There's a Mirghari who was trying to kill the animals, who was in the mode of ignorance. Narada, she told him to chant Hare Krishna mantra. After that, even there was ant was passing. He doesn't want to pay his obeisances, thinking that they'll be killed. So he just cleaning them, moving away with each other, then trying to understand. So person in mode of ignorance take to Krishna consciousness, then he is able to achieve this. For all of them, the theme is that you need a guru, bona fide guru, you surrender to guru. Under his guidance, you follow this bhakti, then this mode of material nature can be overcome. Otherwise, there is no other option. You don't have really free will. It is kind of a restricted free will. Only you can desire it. You can't just act whatever way you want. So I pass here for more questions or comments. Further, I want to explain this. I want you to do this activity. All of you have paper and pencil. It is a 2 minutes activity. I want you to do this, very interesting. Some of you don't have, mentally do it, but I would suggest you take pen and paper and do this exercise. So before that, as I progress, am I audible now? Hello. Okay, I don't know where I stopped it. Where I stopped it.
You asked her to take a pen and a pencil, book and a pencil, so that we can do that.
Sorry.
You asked her to take the book and a pencil to do that activity, Prabhuji.
Okay. So please, some of you can take your. Thank you, Geeta Mataji. So now you can take your pencil and paper to work out this. So one example is there is one doctor who studied So rather than going to the city, where there is a village, each village you want to serve the village. The doctor, happy family, had a wife. Whenever he has time, he would read some philosophical books. He would not charge too much to his client, genuinely trying to keep the family happy, try to do the mode of goodness, not over work hard, kind of activities he does. This is one kind of family, a person in mode of goodness. The other family is super busy family. Money is honey. The husband is traveling all over the world. He's so busy, MD, CEO for various country. He's been traveling. His housewife was working, but see, the wife was working. Then after that, she stopped. Then she's more of a through online shopping. She's very busy with keeping her shopping and things like that. The kids are always playing games and busy with computers and things like that. So money is honey. So they're trying to invest a lot of investment, trying to make 2, 3 apartments like that. This is another family who's in mode of passion. So they just think that money is everything, all about. And they didn't add any time. Whenever they have time, they just go to the temple, just not for the worship or something, just a recreation or just a break the routine, but not really into the devotional aspect of it, not reading any magazines or books related to Gita or spending time for Gita. The third kind of family is the mode of ignorance, where they move more into drugs, drinking, internet surfing, and things like that, and abominable activities. They are in the category, you can categorize them the mode of ignorance. So goodness, passion, and ignorance, this is the category. Now, for example, books, you can classify them into holy scriptures, philosophical books, self giving self what is a confidence books and things like that. That's mode of goodness. Passion is reading some books about some novel or what is it, fiction, those kind of things. Ignorance is really abnormal site, where you don't want to go and visit those sites, visiting or reading some books which are prohibited. So this kind of work. So similarly, how the work can be in the mode of goodness, passion, ignorance. Time of the day. A day starts with let's say 4 o'clock in the morning till next night morning 4 o'clock. How do you classify the time as the code of moodness and passion, ignorance? There is a music, places. Anybody wants to try? I'll give a minute, then I would show answer. So please try to do this exercise. Any of this will be again repeated in the coming chapters, but this will give you really understanding of what is modes of nature. I'll give one more minute. Try to answer them. Okay. Some of you may not done, that's okay. But let us try to see the answers. So the books are something like motivational, spiritual, things like that, or passion kind of for people who would read thrillers, novels, detectives, and fiction books kind of thing. Ignorance is objectionable materials which they try to watch or see. Work is that teaching profession, very doctorate, like no more of sattvic, godness, helping others, progi there, temple priest, whoever comes under the mode of goodness. Passion is money is any, like high busy profile, CEO, CTO, whatever you call it as, always busy. They don't have even time for the family, traveling abroad and things like that. So they are in the mode of passion. Ignorance, a person who is always drinks and drugs, he never works anything productively, but most of the time on the drinking and alcoholic, intoxicated. So time of the day, morning 4 a.m. to till noon is mode of, or little above the, let's say 10:30, 11, up to that, it is more of mode of goodness. That's why we do a chanting or any activity we want to do, reading, everything very good in the time of the Brahma Muhurta, we say. So it is good to do that at the time. As the time progresses, right, whatever you could able to do in the morning, 2, 3 hours, if you kept pending and you're trying to do this in the afternoon, it takes longer time. And in the night, it doesn't grow only, it is drags. That's why going early to bed, early to rise is always better. The time when you sleep, right, if you go to bed at 9, let's say 9:30, the deep sleep what you have till between 10, 11, 12, that's equivalent to your sleeping for 10, 12 hours in the late in the night. If you sleep in the morning again 2 o'clock, you till 12 o'clock next day you sleep, you will never feel satisfied, you will be feeling tired. But a person who sleeps to go to the bed at 9 and try to sleep quickly, and 10, between 10 and 11, kind of such a deep sleep you have, that is equivalent to the 6 7 hours of good sleep what you have it later. So Prabhupada used this technique. Always used to go at 9 o'clock to the bed, then you would get up at 11 and start writing till early morning. Because that 2 hours of, I sometimes wonder, he would sleep only for 1.5 hour. How is that possible? A person who is like 1.5 hour only can sleep and survive for many years. This is the technique. The Acharyas followed this. They sleep at this time, 11, 12, even you sleep at 10, then you get up at 3, 4. It's easy to get up at 3 or 4 and you start your doing activities. So that's called goodness. The goodness, mode of goodness, multiply your effort. The time management, somebody wants to know, this how you can manage your time. Getting up early. All the business people, you can name it. You can never name me any person in the business world who never gets up early morning. The person who is very successful in the life, you will let it be material or spiritual, they will get up early morning. They will have a perfect lifestyle. They go out for jogging or whatever they need to do, whatever meeting they need to do, whatever they have to collect the information for the meeting for the day, everything they do it prepared before 9, then they just go 9. And most of them, they retire very early in the evening. Most of the business people or successful people follow this formula, not only spiritual. Then music is that classical Carnatic. Some people will hear jazz and rock music, really hard music. Those are passion. Then scouting, screaming, no, those are in the ignorance. The peace places are like a park, forest, natural related people. Otherwise, city life, crazy city life, and ignorance is the pubs and clubs like that. So we can go on like that, right? In the food is juicy, vegetarian, wholesome food, spicy, too much spicy, too much pungent. These are in the mode of passion. Untouchable, rotten, decayed food is what, in the mode of ignorance. The charity also can do in goodness, passion, and ignorance, which we will see in the later chapter. The state of mind is also you're always happy, irrespective of bad or good thing happens. Other always agitated in the passion, greedy, and lazy, dull is the kind of modes of material nature if you want to understand. So based on these modes, person, so this is always a race. So far what we understood is the three modes of material nature. I talked about free will and modes of material nature. Predominantly it's the nature which makes acts on us forcefully. So we are most of the time destined or controlled to do particular activity. So this always there is a dominance between goodness. Sometimes goodness dominates, sometimes ignorance dominates, sometimes passionate dominates. So like this is one more tip with the husband and wife fighting. This generally commonly happens. If you understand this concept, you can never will have a husband and wife fight. Should I tell the story or should I tell you the secret or not? Anna, how many of you want to know the secret? See, the modes of material is such a powerful topic. It can even, any relationship cannot be broken if you understand that. You need to understand whenever there is a conversation happening, a person or spouse, they'll start saying, oh, your father was like that, you always like that. Even though you're not always like that, some mistake would have happened. They'll just magnify saying that, oh, you 10 years back, you remember he was doing like this. So they just start taking the entire history or something like that, exaggerating. You need to understand the opposite person is loving you. You are fighting with the modes of material nature. If a person is low, is on the mode of ignorance, all these things will happen. They'll start flaring up, shouting, and you also in the mode of ignorance start fighting, nothing will happen. But you need to understand that the other person is really loves me, but right now he's fighting with the modes of material nature. Better thing is keep quiet and calm. When they're clear in the mode of goodness, have a discussion, open discussion, and try to close it. Don't react during that lower modes of nature. Don't take any decision when you are in the lower modes of material nature. Just you need to remember, okay, this person is under this particular modes of nature. He's trying to act. He's also fighting against the modes of material nature. I know it is very difficult to come. Keep quiet. The next day, when the proper mood and proper place is there, mode of goodness, have open conversation, try to fix the problem that works. Otherwise, you told 10 things. Okay, let me also tell 10 things what you did last time. So the mode of people, when they really mode of ignorance, they start fight each other and it brings more gap rather than fixing the problem. It worsens the problem. So whenever we know that there is something happening, it's know that we are fighting against our modes of material nature, either passion or ignorance. We need to come to the mode of goodness and try to solve this problem. If they are sober, they really know that, say, I didn't like it, know what you have done. Can you change it or something? They try to have open conversation where in the mode of goodness. So always these things are happens because we are in the different modes of material nature. That's a secret. Anybody knows about the modes of material nature? They will tolerate and appropriate time, bring the conversation and solve the problem. So that's another tips for you to understand why this modes of material nature needs to be understood, how it is forcefully acts upon our desire, even though we don't want it. This is how we need to see that we are being controlled by these modes of material nature. Okay. Now, action in the modes of material nature, Krishna again explains in the 14 to 18 slokas, what is the destination? A person who is always in goodness, he goes to the higher planetary like Swargaloka and all, is always doing charity, a lot of activities, so he goes to the higher planetary system. A person who is in the passion, mode of passion, comes to this earth. In the earth, again, he tries bonded with the karmic activity. He does a lot of activity and stays in the mode of passion, he stays in the earth. A person in the ignorance, either he goes to the lower species of life in the earth or he goes to the hellish planet. This is what Krishna states. This is the destination of a person who is acting in this mode. What is the results of the action? It can be pure misery, foolishness, and the effect is that 17th sloka is real knowledge. The person in the passion is greed and madness in the ignorance. So he also explains this various destination, results of action, and the effect of action in various modes of activities. With that, Arjuna is asking, now I understood these modes of material nature. Tell me symptom of one who has transcended. Krishna is telling, by surrendering unto me, doing bhakti only you can overcome. Otherwise, it's very difficult to overcome. Quarrel, nature, everything will be there. It is very difficult to overcome these three modes of material nature. What is that? Then Arjuna says, okay, the person, tell me how do I need to, person who is transcended the modes of nature, what kind of symptoms you would have? How does he behave? You tell me how to transcend first of all. Then Krishna gives the very beautiful answers in this 19 to 27. A person who is transcendental to the modes, he post victory or losing, happy, sadness, whatever condition is, he post. He never, he's not too happy because he got some promotion. Neither, something gone, so a loss happened. He did not like really laments. So he's post, neutral, free from angry, free from envy. These are some characteristics. I'm not going in detail, but these are some of the symptoms of a person who is transcendent the modes. What is that his behavior? Steady in all the times, good or bad times. He deals equally everyone and everything. He doesn't differentiate. Never acts whimsically. Always surrender to Krishna. Whatever Krishna gives, he takes it. Whatever that is his behavior. Now, how to transcendent? That's what he's talking about. Pure bhakti. Krishna says only pure bhakti through which you can surrender. The sloka is that Mamsayo vibhacharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. 14.26 here Krishna gives the solution. Bhakti yogena sevate, only pure bhakti, you can sagunan samadhityaitan brahma bhu, you can come to the Brahman realization only by pure bhakti. You can go over these modes only by pure bhakti. There is no other option, there is no other option, there is no other option. Right? So we conclude here chapter 14. We saw the three modes of material nature. I've talked about definition, types, and where I am I. Three modes of material nature. I gave the example of the various three families. Then we did a exercise of recognizing a modes of supremacy, goodness in charity, passion, anxiety. We did that exercise. What is that really the modes of supremacy, how they take the control. The destiny is almost there. The free will only means that we can desire something to do it. We cannot act upon it. And we have delved into more detail to understand that. The third part is that acting, dying with the modes. A person who is in the particular mode, where is the destiny he would get? Heavenly planets, earthly planet, or hellish planets. That kind of activity we seen. If a person in the mode of goodness, what happens? Where do they destined to go? The fourth one we saw how to transcend these modes. What is the symptom of person who is transcended? What is his behavior? Through the bhakti only is the process by means we can transcend. So this is what Krishna gives the answer in the chapter 14. I would like to stop here because it is already 9. The chapter 15 will be difficult to cover. This is another heavy subject to cover. The Purushottama Yoga is a wonderful session. I will try to cover it next Saturday if possible. Okay, so I'd like to stop here. As for open up for more questions or anything which you want to know more about it, you can ask me.